Franz Kafka has been appearing on my For You page on TikTok for a while now. And if you don't know him, he's like a very famous philosopher who who's written one of the most deepest things in almost all his literature he writes about is so deep. And I just want to know more about him. So let's actually just dive deep into to his philosophy.
Kafka is regarded as one of the greatest
Philosophy.
literary figures in recent history. He is known for his uniquely dark, disorienting, and surreal writing style, a style and quality so particular to him that anything that resembles it has come to be known and referred to as Kafkaesque. To understand his
Kafkaesque.
writing and the qualities of Kafkaesque, it is helpful to understand his early life. Kafka was born in Prague in 1883 to a man named Hermann and a woman named Julie. His father was a highly successful, well-to-do businessman who, through sheer force of will and a brash, aggressive
Oh, he was on the
personality,
circus.
managed to rise from the working class, build a successful business, marry a well-educated woman, and become a member of higher middle society. As parents tend to do, Hermann hoped for a child that would measure up to his ideal stature of a person. Franz Kafka was not that. Franz was born a small, anxious, and sickly boy, and he mostly remained that way. As a result, through no fault of his own, Franz would become a great source of disappointment for his father and a sort of psychological punching bag for him as he attempted to mold Franz into who he wished he was, but could never be.
Bro, see, that's something parents need to stop doing. Is trying to mold their kids into them, like trying to force their dreams, their goals on and their success to their kids, bro. Because that just spells for disaster. That's why you really gotta let your kids think freely and think, do things
Throughout
they
his
want to actually
adolescence,
do.
Franz developed an urge to write as a means of dealing with his increasing sense of anxiety, guilt, and self-hatred.
Huh.
Of course, his father did not allow him to pursue writing and ultimately defined the borders around Kafka's life, forcing him to pursue law as a profession. During his time studying law in college, Kafka continued writing and met one of his only real friends, Max Brod, another writer who would eventually convince Kafka to publish his first 3 collections of work. These pieces sold very poorly, however, and essentially went unnoticed. After college, Kafka would go on to work in a law office and then for an insurance company. Here, Kafka would become subject to long hours, unpaid overtime, massive amounts of
I can't believe they actually allowed that. I can't believe people actually had to do unpaid overtime. And there's some people, like, I'm pretty sure there's some Asian countries that still allow that. But I can't believe that. When I think about working overtime and not getting paid for it, bro, it's just like, it's a joke to me. I just could never do that.
paperwork and absurd, complex bureaucratic systems. Kafka was understandably miserable. While working at the insurance company, Kafka continued writing on the side, producing some of his most notable pieces, including The Trial, The Castle, and America. He did not attempt to publish any of these at the time, however, and even left much of his work unfinished, believing it to be unworthy. Kafka continued working at the insurance company for the majority of his remaining short life, while continuing to write around his work schedule. In 1924, he died of tuberculosis at age 41. Kafka never went on to publish any more of his writings.
Damn. Yo, like, I'm gonna be honest, because I've been seeing a lot of his works on my For You page, and it's so deep and dark. And the thing is, like, I kind of understand, like, this man understands how I'm feeling 99% of the time, which is crazy, because people today, nope, nope. But it's crazy to think how there's, like, philosophers, people, literature writers from, like, the past who have passed, who have died already, from way in the past, and they still, like, the things they wrote about is still relatable to this day, like 20, 50, 60, 70 years later.
Nor
It's
did he ever
crazy.
personally receive any success or recognition for the small amount he did. He died believing that
Damn.
his work wasn't any good. On his
Ah,
deathbed, he even instructed Max Brod to burn all of his unpublished manuscripts following his death. Obviously, Brod did not follow Kafka's
did
instructions.
he not marry at all? He just died lonely? That's actually very sad. Like, all he did was work. And that's what most people in today's society do is go to work, clock into 9 to 5, go home, and just do it again. And they look forward for the weekend to, like, watch a movie or whatever. It's actually just sad.
Because here we are,
Like,
100 years later, talking about him.
the rat race is real, bro. Like, it's actually,
After
it's
Kafka
messed
died,
up.
Brod spent the following year or so working to organize and publish his notes and manuscripts. Over the decade following, Kafka would become one of the most
Kafka.
prominent literary and philosophical figures of the 20th century. In other words, one of the greatest writers and thinkers of the century lived his life with his work buried in some drawer, aware, unaware, or indifferent to the fact that he was sitting on some of the most significant works in recent history.
Damn.
He lived his life in the eyes of his father, an inadequate disappointment, And yet, in the eyes of history, he is an immensely important individual. One can
They even
only
got a
wonder how
statue of
many
him.
individuals like Kafka have and continue to walk this earth, completely disconnected or restricted from ever seeing who they really are or could be.
Bro, that's one thing that I'm scared of is when it's time when I'm on my deathbed and I'm just surrounded by like I think David Goggins said this once, like imagine being in your deathbed and then surrounded by the versions of yourself that you could have been, like the better versions of yourself that you could have been, the stuff that you could have done, the dreams you could have achieved, all there could have happened, but you chose not to pursue them, not to do it, and now they're just like dead, bro. You know how many like dreams, how many people's dreams, they stuff they could have done, never get to accomplish that. It's actually just, it's
How many
just damn.
Kafkas have lived and died without ever sharing their voice with the world?
So many, bro. I bet so many too. Kafka is literally an example of that. It was just lucky enough that the dude, his friends published his work, because it would have just went down the drain.
Voice would have changed it forever. How many people never know who they'll be after they're gone? Fortunately for everyone other than Kafka, his work was saved and
Bro,
an
this is why you gotta go
entirely new
chase your
genre of
dreams,
thinking and
no matter
writing
what.
developed in his name, Kafkaesque. Generally, the term Kafkaesque tends to refer to the bureaucratic nature of capitalistic, judiciary, and government systems, the sort of complex, unclear processes in which no one individual ever really has a comprehensive grasp on what is going on, and the system doesn't really care. But the quality of Kafkaesque also seems to extend much further than this. It is not necessarily exemplified merely by what these systems are, but rather the reaction of the individual subjected to them and what it might represent. In one of his most famous novels, The Trial, the protagonist Joseph K. is suddenly arrested at his home one morning. The officers do not inform K of why he's being arrested though, and he is then forced through a long, absurd trial in which nothing is ever really explained or makes much sense. The trial is riddled with corruption and disorderliness, and by the end of the novel, after having meandered the entire thing, K is never told why he was arrested, and yet he remains guilty of his final conviction.
Whoa.
In another one of his more popular stories, Metamorphosis, the protagonist Gregor Samsa awakes into having suddenly been turned into an insect with no clear explanation. The first and recurring issues Gregor faces throughout the novel are the problems of getting to work, dealing with his boss, and providing financially for his inconsiderately needy family. Gregor, of course, cannot do this. He is a bug, and so he experiences increased dread trying to deal with his situation while becoming a useless nuisance to his family. In both stories, the protagonists are faced with sudden, absurd circumstances. There are no explanations, and in the end, there is no real chance of overcoming them. They are outmatched by the arbitrary, senseless obstacles they face, in part because they can't understand or control any of what is happening. The crux of Kafka's style and work seems to be carried by this confrontation with the absurd, a conflict in which a character's efforts, reasoning, and sense of the world are met with inescapable parameters of senselessness, wherein success is both impossible and, in the end, ultimately pointless, and yet they try anyway. It's fair to argue that one interpretation is that these circumstances are emblematic of Kafka's take on the human condition. Specifically, the unyielding desire for answers and conquest over the existential problems of anxiety, guilt, absurdity, and suffering, paired with an inability to ever really understand or control the source of the problems and effectively overcome them. But the kicker and perhaps most important...
I told you when I said this man is deep and his works, bro, it's deep. Like it's deep. And it's so real too, because it's not he doesn't sugarcoat it too. Like it's raw, it's deep, and it's just like it's just real. Like it's just real. Like that's like the best way I can explain it.
part is,
And it is
even in the
dark.
face of absurd, despairing circumstances, Kafka's characters don't give up. At least initially, they continue on and fight against their situations, trying to reason, understand, or work their way out of the senselessness. But in the end, it is ultimately to no avail. Perhaps in this, Kafka is suggesting that the struggle to find solace in understanding is both inescapable and impossible. As conscious, rational beings, we fight against the absurdity, trying to resolve the discrepancy between us and the universe. But ironically, we only serve to self-perpetuate the very struggle we are trying to resolve by trying to resolve the unresolvable. And in this sense, on some level, we almost want the struggle. Of course, this is just one interpretation. Ultimately, because of its vague, surreal, and inexplicable quality, Kafka's work lends itself to nearly as many interpretations as readers. Perhaps the idea is that we should accept our absurd condition and not take it so seriously. Perhaps the idea is that we should and must struggle against it. Or perhaps the idea is that we can't know what the idea is. In truth, only Kafka will ever have known exactly what his work meant, and it's fair to speculate that in some sense, perhaps not even him. What is undeniable, though, is that Kafka's work has left a lasting impact on literature, philosophy, and humanity at large. It has helped readers around the world feel less alone in their own hunches of truth and moments of Kafkaesque experiences. Kafka's own story is not necessarily unusual. His father, although cruel, his life, although sad, neither were nor are all that uncommon. To be born into a faulty family, bad place in the world, or a weak body or brain. To live and die having never recognized one's full potential. To have been stuck in a bureaucratic cog of a business organization or government
Damn,
system.
bro.
To have felt
Damn, bro. He's still going. He's still going, bro. It's getting darker and darker.
to have been stuck in a bureaucratic cog of a business organization or government system.
Like,
To have
chill
felt the
out.
guilt and anxiety of existence for no clear reason. We have all, at least at times, experienced the Kafkaesque. Kafka's work is not considered great because it describes something profoundly unique, but because it describes something mundanely common in a profound way. An encapsulation of an often indescribable experience, a part of life that touches us all. When referring to Kafka, writer Anne Rice once said that his work helped her realize the following approach in her own work. Don't bend, don't water it down, don't try to make it logical, don't edit your own soul according to the fashion. Rather, follow your most intense obsessions mercilessly. Kafka's work sought not to alleviate the soul through remedies of false hope or delusion, but rather through the direct confrontation with the darker aspects of self. By distorting reality to map more accurately onto his own sense of human experience, he revealed a certain remedy of unhindered self-examination and carved out a place in the world for others to do the same. I think we ought to read only the kind of books that wound or stab us. If the book we're reading doesn't wake us up with a blow to the head, what are we reading for? So that it will make us happy? Good Lord, we would be happy precisely if we had no books, wrote Kafka in a letter to a friend.
Ooh. Oh, damn. I never really thought about it like that, because I usually do drawn more towards stories that are like happy, because you want to feel happy, you want to feel good, you don't really want to read something and then after reading it being depressed. But that, damn, I never thought of something like this. Something that really reminds me of a book that really left me like damn, was Berserk, the manga. Yes, the manga Berserk. I recommend everyone read it. It's still ongoing, but there isn't. It's just the MC goes through so much, like so much, bro. Like he hasn't had a happy ending at all. If we're being honest with you, read Berserk or watch the anime Berserk. I recommend it.
Although he might not have shared this
Is that type of thing that will make like a blow to your head and really just wake you up.
explicitly, Kafka's work embodies and reminds us not that we wish to give up, but that despite all the absurdities and problems, we wish to continue. We wish to struggle against the universe and forge our own way. We wish to find and connect over honesty, however hard it may be.
Bro, Kafka is so real. Let me know what y'all think. Like I said before, I've been seeing his works on my For You page, like different quotes, and one of the quotes that he said, I don't know exactly word by it, but this is like the gist of the quote. It's basically saying that like we all seek freedom, right? Everyone wants freedom, but once you actually get that freedom, you feel more lost than ever. Like you feel, because the thing is, when you have freedom and you don't have structure anymore, especially like a prime example is this: when you graduate from high school, when you graduate from college or whatever, if you go to college, but when you graduate out of high school, because a lot of people don't really go to college, bro, you feel so much freedom for the first few months, especially summer, because you graduate then the summer. The whole summer you feel freedom, but then after that, you life hits you hard because you have so much freedom. You can do anything, but but the idea of being able to do anything makes you do nothing. Like it really makes you just like be like, damn, I have no idea what to do. Like legit nothing to do. Not, I mean, there's possibilities of what I can do, but I don't know what to do. That's like one of the. That's not how his quote went, but it was something along the line of saying that we all seek freedom, but then once we get that freedom, we feel more lost than ever. Something along the line like that. I don't know exact quote, but it was deep. It was deep. But hey, let me know what y'all like and what y'all didn't like about that video and what y'all want to react to next. And I like reacting to these deep things because I'm gonna be honest, especially in today's society, we should really be, you know, deep diving into these types of things because they do relate to today's society. But let me know what y'all like and what you didn't like. And hold up, let me pull up the code. All right, all right. I found it. I found it. I obviously use chat because it's faster. But this is the quote: "I am free, and this is why I'm lost." Those often interpret Kafka as you as people long for freedom, but once they achieve it, it's the lack of structure and rules and direction that can lead to feeling adrift. That's the quote I was talking about, and it is so true more than anything. If you're in high school right now, I promise you, you're gonna feel this after you graduate. Not to scare y'all, but you're gonna feel this when you graduate. But yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace. That's all I wanted to add.